Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy B. Harwala. For today's discussion, we are going to talk about species interaction, its type and function, and patterns of population dispersion. But first, let's have our today's discussion objectives. These are to identify types of species interaction and its role in the ecosystem, and to elaborate patterns of population dispersion. So what is species interaction? So species interaction form the basis for many ecosystem properties and processes such as nutrient cycling and food web. There are six types of species interaction, namely competition, predation, parasitism, mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism. First is the competition. So competition is a relationship between organisms that strive for the same resources such as food, water, and territory in the same place. Generally speaking, it can be defined as direct or indirect interaction of organisms that led to a change in fitness when the organism share the same resources. So there are two different types of competition. We have the intraspecific competition and interspecific competition. So intraspecific competition occurs only between members of the same species. As for interspecific competition, the competition occurs between members of different species. As you can see, we have two different pictures. The figure 1 represents intraspecific competition. The crocodiles, they are the same species that vie for prey for survival. While on the figure 2, we have organisms of different species, the blackbird and squirrel, that are fighting for food. Next type of species interaction is the predation. These require individual to kill and consume another. This interaction is called predator-prey relationship. The interaction provides energy to prolong life and promote reproduction of the organism that does the killing. The specific interaction influences organism at two ecological level. Individually speaking, the prey has progressive decline in fitness by its lifetime reproductive success because it will not reproduce again. In community level, the prey population reduces its number of individuals. Protozoans are known to prey on bacteria, and plants are known to trap and digest insects. Example is the pitcher plant. So there are two illustrations on how predation happens. So in figure 1, cheetah is trying to capture deer. The cheetah here is the predator and the deer is the prey. While on the figure 2, we have carnivorous pitcher plant. So as I have mentioned on the previous slide, they trap and digest insects. So what is the significant relationship between predation and adaptation? So predation has wide influence on the fitness of both predator and prey. Both of them, predator and prey, should adapt and develop characteristics that will help them in acquiring food. This is for the predator, and avoid being eaten too. This is for the prey. It will help them to survive and reproduce. We have here is the two characteristics for both predator and prey that they opt to develop and acquire for survival and reproduction. Figure 1, cheetah develop its speed to easily capture prey. And for figure 2, newt exhibit aposematic coloration to avoid being eaten off. So what is aposematic coloration? This is either conspicuous coloration or markings found in animals that serve as warning for predators. Another is parasitism. So parasitism is symbiosis relation in which one organism, the parasite, causes harm to another, the host. The parasite utilizes as habitat and depends on for resources acquisition. Pathogens, an organism causing disease to its host. It can either be virus, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and worms. Most parasites typically do not kill their host. However, they can significantly weaken them, by which indirectly cause the host to die via illness, effects on metabolism, lower overall health, and increase in predation. Parasitism are categorized into two. We have endoparasite and ectoparasite. So endoparasite live and feed inside the host body, while ectoparasite feed and live outside the body of the host. So here are the examples of endoparasite. For figure 1, we have cestoda, or commonly known as tapeworm. For figure 2, we have Fasciola hepatica, commonly known as liver fluke. For figure 3, we have Trichomonas vaginalis. For figure 4, we have Candida. For figure 5, we have Escherichia coli. These are the examples of ectoparasite. In figure 1, we have ticks. In figure 2, we have lice or kuto. In figure 3, we have mites. Another type of species interaction is the mutualism. Mutualism are type of species interaction that involves exchange of goods or services between two species, called mutualist partners. Different kind of organisms are involved in mutualism, so the types of goods and services that are exchanged are highly variable, as are the mechanism by which the exchanges are made. So mutualism can either be obligate or facultative. For obligate mutualism, species can survive without relationship with another organism. So example is the relationship between tree and ants, as tree provides shelter for ants and ants nourishes the tree. Another mutualistic relationship is the facultative mutualism. So species can survive individually when separated, but often not as well. So facultative mutualism can be described in one of the three ways. So we have resource mutualism. Both of the species provide a resource to the other species. We have service resource mutualism. One of the species provides service, whereas the other provides resource. And lastly, the service mutualism. Both the species provide service to other species. In figure 1, we have the service resource mutualism. So, the flower provides nutrient to the bee by its nectar. In return, the bee helps in the process of fertilization by transferring the pollen grain. So in figure 2, the resource mutualism. The example is the coral and zooxanthellae. The algae get organic nutrients from the corals and in return corals get sugar that are byproducts of photosynthesis from algae. Lastly, the figure 3, the service mutualism. The best example would be the sea anemone and clownfish. Sea anemone provide shelter for clownfish to avoid predators, while sea anemone provide or protects, while on return the clownfish protects sea anemone to be eaten by other fish. So the next type of species interaction is the commensalism. So commensalism is the interaction in which one individual benefits while other is neither helped nor harmed. It can be difficult to identify because the individual that benefits may have indirect effect on the other individual that are not readily noticeable or detectable. So the orchids doesn't harm the tree at all. Orchids attach to the tree to get better sunlight. So another type of species interaction, and lastly, the amensalism. So amensalism is an ecological interaction where one of the species is harmed or destroyed while the other is either benefit or remains unaffected. One of the modes of evolution as the process of natural selection favors organisms that can effectively collect nutrients and energy for survival. So there are two distinct types of amensalism. We have competition and antibiosis. So competition is a type of negative interaction where the larger or stronger species deprives the small species from food or living species, while antibiosis is an important type of amensalism where one of the species is killed by chemical secretion while other remains unaffected. For competition, in figure 1, we have goat and insect. They eat the same grass, so by this it will result into scarcity of food for the insect. So the goat is not affected with the interaction, but the insect gets deprived of significant amount of food resources. For figure 2, the antibiosis, penicillium secretes penicillin, a secondary metabolite with antagonistic effect against bacterial species. We are now on the second part of the report, which is the population dispersion pattern. So to begin with, population dispersion pattern describes the arrangement of individuals within the habitat at particular point in time, and broad categories of pattern are used to describe them. So there are three patterns of population dispersion. We have clump dispersion, This is when individuals in a population are clustered together, creating some patches with many individuals and some patches with no individuals. For clump dispersion, this is due to uneven distribution of nutrients and resources in the environment or caused by social interaction. For uniform dispersion, we have individuals of a population are spaced more or less evenly. So uniform dispersion, individuals must compete for limiting resources such as water and light. For random dispersion, individuals are distributed randomly without a predictable pattern. In random dispersion, individuals are distributed randomly without predictable pattern. So random dispersion is for is the formation of social group based on protecting or hunting. So we have here are the examples of the patterns of population dispersion. So for the figure 1, we have clump dispersion. These are the elephants. For the figure 2, uniform dispersion, they use creosote bush. And for figure 3, we have random dispersion. This they use dandelion. To sum up, species interaction tells about how individuals react with each other. There are 6 types, namely competition, predation, parasitism, mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism. So competition is for the organism that strive for the same resources in the same place. Then competition is further categorized into 2, the interspecific competition, which means competition is between members of the same species, and interspecific competition, which means competition is between different species. So next is the predation. Individual displays the predator-prey relationship. Then the parasitism is the relation in which one organism, parasite, cause harm to another or the host. It is classified into 2. We have the endoparasite. This lives inside the body of the host, and the ectoparasite. This live outside the body of the host. Another is mutualism. These are interaction wherein individual species exchange goods and services. Then we have commensalism. One individual benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. Then the amensalism is where one species destroy while the other one benefits or remains unaffected. Then the population dispersion pattern. So this is to describe arrangement of individuals. It has 3 types: the clump, uniform, and random. So that's all for my report. Thank you so much for listening and have a good day.